Friends sing together. La 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 la. Friends do things together. La 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 la.
Let's take a look at our next sign.
All right. My jihad is to build friendships across the aisle.
My jihad is to build friendships across the aisle. So, what do we have here?
Yeah.
This person's jihad, and you see them, you see Muslims being friends there with non-Muslims. And this is a form of jihad, because jihad is just striving or struggling against something that's a problem. So one of the problems is not enough friends in the world.
Yeah.
And so if we just fight against that, we struggle against that, then we'd all be friends and we'd all get along. Now,
that's what Muhammad preached and
what's the problem with this? Well, this little thing called the Quran.
Yeah. Yeah.
This little thing called the Quran, this little thing called the Muslim commentaries, rail against this. So I'll talk about Surah 5, verse 51.
Yeah, please.
And then Robert can talk about 328, and that'll bring us right into the issue of taqiyya, which the brother just asked us about.
551, make friends across the aisle, right?
Yeah, that's what Surah 551. You're going to see. This is going to say jihad is making friends across the aisle.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, Surah 5, verse 51. O you who believe, so this is talking to Muslims. O you who believe, do not take the Jews and the Christians for friends. They are friends of each other. And whoever amongst you takes them for a friend, then surely he is one of them. Surely Allah does not guide the unjust people.
That doesn't sound very friendly.
Think about this. Don't be friends with Jews and Christians. They are friends with each other. If you take them for a friend, you're one of them. In other words, if you take a Jew or a Christian for a friend, you're not really a Muslim. Why? Because Allah has commanded you not to take them for friends. And if you do, in disobedience to Allah, then you've made them an idol. You've committed shirk. You've set them up as idols, and you've gone against Allah. You're not a real Muslim. You choose friends over obeying Allah, who's commanded you not to be friends with Jews and Christians, right?
Right.
Now, I want to point out some responses, because every Muslim who's watching right now, and we know you're watching even if you're not calling in, every Muslim watching this is thinking, is been given the standard Western responses that all you have to do is read your sources and you see are total nonsense. But you're thinking right now, no, but the word there is awliya, and it means protectors. Don't take them as protectors. I've seen this in almost every Muslim who responds to this. It means protectors. First, think about what that would actually mean. Don't take Jews or Christians as protectors. What, like police officers? No Jews and Christians as police officers? As doctors? As politicians? Is that what it means? Is that what you want to tell your Western audience that this word actually means? So what do you mean when it says don't take them as protectors?
Certainly not for elected office.
Absolutely not. You can't. So the entire government needs to be replaced by Muslims, according to that interpretation.
They're working on that.
But second, it can't mean that. And in fact, you Muslims who say that and actually mean it, those of you who say awliya means protectors, you don't realize that you've just committed all kinds of shirk. Why? Well, let me read you another verse that contains the exact same word, exact same tense, everything, right here. Surah 10, verse 62. Now surely the friends of Allah, they shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. The awliya of Allah, they shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. So wait, awliya is normally translated, as it is here, friends.
Allah needs protection.
So Allah has friends according to the Quran, no problem there. I don't have any theological problem with that. But now my Muslim friends tell me, actually this word means protectors. So wait a minute, Allah, you're telling me, there's awliya of Allah, so Allah has human, this is talking about human beings, right?
Of course.
Allah has human protectors. He has human bodyguards that guard him from harm.
Well, he prays to Muhammad. That's one of his protectors,
that's right?
Sallallahu alayhi. Allah prays to Muhammad. He's one of his protectors.
So Allah has human protectors. So keep in mind, here's Allah, and here are his bodyguards, who are obviously more powerful than him because they protect. That's what that means if you want to translate that as protectors. But there's another problem, oh Muslims who don't bother to read your sources or understand your religion at all. According to Islam, and Pastor Joseph Roberts, let me go ahead and ask. According to Islam, is a Muslim entitled to believe whatever he wants about any verse?
Oh, sure.
Or if Muhammad and his companions laid down their interpretation, are Muslims today bound by the interpretations of Muhammad and his companions?
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
They are bound.
Yeah, they are.
So a Muslim today can't say, hey, Umar, the rightly guided caliph said a verse meant this, but I say it means something totally different.
No.
Can't.
Muhammad said, my community will not agree on an error. If there was consensus, ijma, on anything in the past, then it's settled. It cannot be revisited.
And so the four schools of jihad also, I mean, of Islamic jurisprudence, all would say that jihad is losing weight or exercising. Is that right?
No.
Nary one would say that.
Yep. All right, now, so the point of bringing this up is this. We have the position of Muhammad's companions on this verse. In fact, we have the position of one of the four rightly guided caliphs and one of Muhammad's closest companions on this verse. It goes back to Umar. So let me read you. This is in Ibn Kathir. Any Muslim out there, you don't have to trust me. Go to Ibn Kathir's commentary on Surah 5, verse 51. You can find it online, qtafsir.com. Go to the commentary on Surah 551. Very easy to find. Let me read it to you. Okay. So he's commenting on, and if any among you befriends them, then surely he is one of them. And he comments, Ibn Abi Hatim recorded that Umar ordered Abu Musa al-Ashari to send him on one sheet of balance the count of what he took in and what he spent. So, give me your sort of financial records here. Abu Musa then had a Christian scribe. Abu Musa, one of the great early Muslims. Abu Musa had a Christian scribe. Is he supposed to do that? What's the problem? And he was able to comply with Umar's demand. Umar liked what he saw. So, keep in mind what's going on here. You have Umar, you have Abu Musa. Abu Musa has a Christian scribe working with him. A scribe, just someone who keeps his notes, keeps his records, and so on. And Umar asks for some records. Abu Musa gives them to him, written by a Christian scribe. And Umar likes what he sees. So Umar liked what he saw and exclaimed, this scribe is proficient. Would you read in the masjid a letter that came to us from Ash-Sham? So you're very good at reading. You're obviously well educated. Would you come to the mosque and read for us? Abu Musa said he cannot. Umar said, is he not pure? Abu Musa said, no, but he is a Christian. Abu Musa said, so Umar admonished me and poked my thigh, saying, drive him out from Al-Madinah. He then recited, O you who believe, take not the Jews and the Christians as friends. Is this a Christian who was fighting and attacking them? No, this is a Christian who's working for them, doing the work of the Muslim community. And what was Umar's response? Not just, hey, you can't have him working for you. Get him out of the entire city. Why? Do not take the Jews and the Christians for friends.
Let there be only one religion.
So this is Umar. This is one of the rightly guided caliphs, one of Muhammad's closest companions, saying, you don't even have the Christian in your city. If you're going to have some kind of, you're at the risk of having some kind of relationship or friendship with the Christian. Get rid of him completely, out, expel him. So you Muslims who say, my jihad is to make friends across the aisle, what religion are you following? What religion are you following? Are you following what the Quran says? No. Are you following the interpretations of Muhammad's companions? No. You're waging jihad against Muhammad's teachings. And there, I have to say, wow, I like your jihad. I love your jihad.
Of course, David, the other shoe that drops in that case, as you well know, is that they are lying, and they know they're lying, and they are lying in the service of the jihad.
Yeah.
And that is, of course, elucidated by chapter 3, verse 28 that I mentioned before, which says, and I will read it word for word here, let not the believers take disbelievers as friends rather than believers. And whoever does that has nothing to do with Allah, except when taking precaution against them in prudence. And so now let's do exactly what David did. Look at the commentaries on this. And this, of course, is the same word, the awliya, a word that is more than friends and somewhat less than protectors. And the key part of this, though, is that part about taking precaution, or unless you have a fear of them. What is the exception here? You can't take unbelievers as friends unless you were doing it because you're afraid of them. Now, this is the foundation of the idea that Muslims may legitimately deceive unbelievers when they're under pressure. And the word here used is tukatan. which is where we get the word taqiyya,
Yeah.
the verbal noun from taqiyatan. And so the commentary of Ibn Kathir on this verse says that that clause of it, unless you were doing it as a precaution or unless you were doing it because you have fear of them, means that believers who in some areas or times fear for their safety from the disbelievers may show friendship to the disbelievers outwardly, but never inwardly. For instance, al-Bukhari recorded that Abu ad-Darda said, "We smile in the face of some people," as I quoted before, but behind their backs we curse them.
And Abu ad-Darda was one of Muhammad's companions. So here you have again one of the companions of Muhammad saying this.
Exactly. And al-Bukhari said that al-Hassan said, the taqiyya is allowed until the day of resurrection. Now, this is a very important point because he does say that when they fear for their safety from the disbelievers, they may do this. And you find many Islamic apologists today saying, oh, this is only something you can do when in grave peril for your life. It's not just some license to lie at any time. But here again, words have different meanings in Islamic contexts from what they mean to American non-Muslims. And when a Muslim reads, if he fears for his safety from disbelievers, it is absolutely understood in general sense that that applies to anything that threatens Islam. And if Islam is being criticized or denigrated, that is something that threatens the safety of the Muslim in particular and the Muslims in general. And so he has the responsibility, not just the privilege or the concession that he can lie in such a case, but he has the responsibility to do so to protect Islam.
Any Muslim in Dar al-Harb, outside of the House of Islam, for example, the United States, is always essentially given a carte blanche because he's in a state of spiritual war, but it is actually manifest physically in that physical jihad because the Christians, obviously, he's in a country ruled by those who shouldn't be ruling him.
Another thing that has to be emphasized about taqiyya when we're speaking about it is that you will often hear people say, well, this is something the Shiites do. But Sunnis don't do it. And Sunnis being 85 to 90% of the Muslims worldwide, it's nothing really to worry about. It's just these crazy Iranians. But in fact, we're talking about the Quran here. We're talking about the Quran that, as Pastor Joseph has quoted, it says Allah is the best of deceivers. And the Quran that tells people to not to take the unbelievers as their friends unless they're doing it to protect themselves from them. Then they can deceive them. This is in the Sunni Quran as well as in the Shiite, and has been practiced by the Sunnis throughout history. Certainly the Shiites formulated a sophisticated and complex theology of deception that they formulated of necessity when they were being murdered wholesale by the Sunnis. But they certainly don't own the concept, and it is a universal Islamic concept.
And I wanted to point out what you quoted there, right?
Yeah.
You quoted the Quran. That's authoritative for Muslims. There's nothing that abrogates that anywhere. You have Ibn Kathir. You quoted Ibn Kathir's commentary, the greatest Islamic commentator of all time, who quoted Bukhari, the greatest hadith collector of all time, who's quoting Al-Hassan, who's one of Muhammad's companions. How much stronger can you get? And what did Al-Hassan say? Taqiyya is allowed until the day of resurrection. That's a long time, right? So Sunnis who say, put it this way, there are two types of Sunnis, right, as far as this issue. It could be one who is educated and knows what Islam teaches, and someone who's ignorant, right? We have the same thing here in the West. Some Muslims know what Islam teaches, some Muslims don't know what Islam teaches. As far as a Sunni Muslim who say, oh, it's just a Shia practice, only two possibilities. Either he knows Islam, and he knows what the commentaries say, and he knows what Muhammad's companions say, and he's actually engaging in taqiyya.
Yes.
He's actually engaging in taqiyya when he's telling you taqiyya is only a Shia practice.
Right.
Or he's absolutely clueless. And the question is, why would you believe either one of them? Why would you believe someone who's clueless about his religion, or why would you believe someone who's deliberately trying to deceive you, practicing this deception? So think about what you have here. And notice the talion, Surah 551. Don't be friends with Jews and Christians. If you do, you're one of them. Right. In other words, you're not a real Muslim. Right. 328 said the same thing. Let not the believers take disbelievers for their friends in preference to believers. Whoso doeth that hath no connection with Allah. You have no connection with Allah. Right. You're not a real Muslim. Why? Because Allah told you not to be friends with Him, and you are. So you're putting them above Allah. Except if you're trying to deceive them because you're worried that they pose some threat to Islam. Then you can deceive them. Then you can deceive them, and that's what the commentaries say. So, my jihad is to make friends across the aisle. Yeah. Two possibilities here that are the same kind of possibilities
it
we
is
talked about with the
actual
Sunnis,
jihad.
Right? Yeah. If this was written by a Muslim who knows what the Quran says, knows what the Hadith say, knows what's in the commentaries, has some basic knowledge of what Islam teaches, that person knows Islam does not allow me to make true friends with non-believers. It does not allow me to be genuine friends with the kuffar, or with Christians, or with Jews. It specifically tells me not to. So either the Muslim knows what the Muslim sources teach, and he or she is practicing taqiyya by claiming that Islam promotes friendship with unbelievers, or it is a Muslim who has no clue what Islam teaches, is so ignorant of Islam, they're spouting total nonsense and they don't really even realize it. And either way, why are you listening to A, a person who's deceiving you, or B, a person who's totally ignorant of Islam? And yet, these are the people that the media bows down to and says, well, we'll believe whatever you say.
Boom, la 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 la, boom, boom. Friends, 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 boom, la 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 la, boom. Friends, friends.